that's more like it. Now, what was this video about again? That's right, story time. Now this story isn't for me to boast or brag about whatever. It is just my personal experience on how I got an internship at Norfolk Southern, which happens to be a Fortune 500 company. For those of you who don't know, Norfolk Southern is a railroad company. There's a lot of history to go over there, but I believe they rank number 270 on the Fortune 500 list. Now, if I'm going to tell the story correctly, we need to take it all the way back to early 2016 as I was finishing up my spring semester of, I think, my sophomore year as a computer science student. I realized that as I was halfway through my computer science degree, I couldn't be going back to doing a landscaping job or working at a septic company or working at whatever blue collar job I had before. I needed to focus on my future, so I needed to focus on internships. 1, for money, 2, for experience. Well, maybe that should be switched. 1 for experience, 2 for money, but I was kind of tight on money at the time, which is what really pushed me to make sure I got a good paying internship on summer of 2016. So what did I do? The very first thing I did was I went on Indeed.com, or maybe I just went on Google and I searched computer science internships near me or something along those lines, right? And I saw all of these different internship opportunities. I went on Indeed.com, I applied to a bunch of different internship opportunities for computer science majors. It didn't matter if it was software engineering, if it was data analyst work, systems analyst work, or just basic, computer science work. I didn't know. I was just searching for anything, for any company that I could apply to and potentially get an internship. So I was searching, and living and growing up in Hampton Roads. Everybody knows about Norfolk Southern. Norfolk Southern is like one of the biggest companies. It's located in Norfolk, Virginia, which my school, ODU, is also located there as well. So what did I do? For each of these different applications, I kind of catered it to that job listing. So for Norfolk Southern, I saw kind of the skills they were looking for, and I said, I can meet those skills, whether I learn it now or I already know it. I can learn those skills, so I'm going to put it on my resume and kind of give them my background, my experience. I gave them some of my course experience, told them that I was a student, and applied. Now this is where things got a little interesting. So as you know, I was applying for jobs for the summer of 2016, but this listing for Norfolk Southern was for the fall of 2016. It was a setup like a co-op where I would go in the fall of 2016. If they liked me, they would invite me back for the summer of 2017. So although I was looking for an internship for the summer of 2016, I still applied to this. It didn't matter to me. I just wanted to find something and try to lock in something as quick as possible. So this was around like April, May, where everybody probably already had all of their internships at co-ops locked in for the summer. Most people, I feel like, do that towards the beginning of the semester, not the end, like me. But I work with what I got. So I applied to all these different companies, Norfolk Southern included. And then I kind of sat back, just kind of waited and waited and waited and waited. And I didn't hear back from anybody. I didn't hear back from Norfolk Southern. I didn't hear back from any of the other companies that I applied for. And mind you, this was about 1 week out from finishing the semester. We're about to go into finals week, and then I get an email from my advisor. This was kind of like a later email. A lot of people email my advisor with internship opportunities or job opportunities at their company because they're an ODU alumni, and they know my advisor will send it out to the whole entire CS undergrad community. She'll just send it out as a mass email. I was, of course, on that email list as a CS undergrad, and this email in the subject said internship opportunity at NASA. Not Norfolk Southern, NASA. So what did I do? I went to the job listing. I saw the requirements for the job. I'm like, I can do this. I catered my resume to this. I wrote a cover letter, and then I sent the cover letter and my resume to the person who initially emailed my advisor, the person working at NASA. And I actually touched on all of this a year or two ago when it comes to the NASA internship opportunity up in another video. Not that great a video. Mind you, this is like a year or two ago me, so I don't know how comfortable I was in front of the camera, but you can check that out here. But let's just skip over all of that and say, look, I got the NASA internship, so I completed my goal of getting a summer 2016 internship locked in. And basically I forgot about everyone else I applied to because they didn't really respond to me. So for the summer of 2016, I was working at NASA, but around midway through this internship, I got an email. So this was on June 21st, 2016. I got an email from Norfolk Southern, and they said, well, I'll summarize it for you. Basically, they said, we like your application. You've made it to the next step of this process. We want you to take this 1-hour online assessment within the next 5 days to receive further consideration for this job. I'm like, wait, what job, what internship did I apply to? Because all it said in this email was just Norfolk Southern assessment. It didn't say for what job, for what. I remember I applied to a lot of different things on Indeed and a lot of others. So I went to like Norfolk Southern website. I'm like, all right, so I could have applied for this like systems analyst internship, or there's like 2 or 3 other ones that I could have applied to. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just not even going to ask any questions. I'm going to pretend I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to go into the online assessment. I took it within the 5 days, and I got moved up to the next. So I made it past that filter in this interview process, still not knowing exactly what I was like going through the interview process for. So then on June 27th, I got an email from the HR person. They basically said, thank you for your interest in our intermodal systems fall co-op opportunity. So I finally can grasp what I'm applying for here. And based on your resume and assessment results, I'd like to schedule some time with you this week for a phone interview, preferably today or tomorrow. So I emailed back immediately. I said, look, I get off today at 3:45 p.m. Can we schedule it sometime after that? Anytime, I'm free. They said, okay. They emailed me back, 4 p.m. today, you're scheduled, I'll call you. So I went back to their website and was like, all right, let me look at the Intermodal Systems Fall Co-op. I need to figure out what exactly I need to study up on. Because like I said, before this email, I didn't know what I was interviewing for. I understood Norfolk Southern, but I didn't know with what group. I didn't know for what job. I understood it was for a computer science internship, but I didn't know anything other than a potential internship in Norfolk Southern up until this email. So this email really cleared up a lot of stuff for me. So in my in-between time at work, I kind of just studied up on the company, studied up on this exact internship position and this group, which was intermodal systems. I had to understand, basically what intermodal meant. I need to understand what this job entailed. And I had to understand everything that I put on my resume for this job, because I cater my resume to each and every job listing. So I need to make sure I brushed up on all of those skills I listed on my resume within like the next, 3-4 hours by the time I get off and have this phone interview. So the phone interview went like any other human resources type of interview. They ask you about your resume, a bit about the experience you list on your resume, the skills you list on your resume. I listed some projects that I built like with C++. They kind of asked about that project. I gave them the rundown of it. And then they asked, what do you know about Norfolk Southern, about the intermodal systems department, and why do you want to work here? So basic kind of phone interview. I went through that. And I believe, I came out of it being very confident. Like, I think I got this. And sure enough, I did. I made it past that filter. I know this because 2 days later, I got an email from another human resource person basically setting up a virtual career day. Not just for me, but there were other people who were applying not just for this position, but for other positions in Norfolk Southern as well. However, what was really exciting about that morning wasn't just that email, but simultaneously I received an email from the HR lady I spoke on the phone interview with. And that email read, thank you for your continued interest within our intermodal systems department at Norfolk Southern. Based on your previous interview, which was a phone interview, mind you, you have been selected to proceed in the interview process. We'd like to set up an in-person interview for July 6th, 2016. So at this point I was stoked, and I made it through with this whole entire interview process, and I'm pretty sure based on my research that this was the last leg of the interview. So if I pass this in-person interview, I have the internship. So what I did is I went home after work and I did all my research, like Norfolk Southern Intermodal Systems interview questions. And I wanted to get in the mindset of what I'm expecting to walk into, right? I wanted to know what this interview was about, what questions they would ask me, kind of what they would expect of me. And I kind of had an idea, but I wanted to be sure. So I did that for the next few days leading up to this interview. I also went home. Mind you, I was living in Norfolk, Virginia, because I was going to ODU. I went home about an hour away to Virginia Beach to pick up my suit because I wanted to wear, nice suit, nice tie. I wanted to look nice for this interview. It was an important interview at a corporate company. So at this point, I've already got my suit. I've already brushed up on all of this information, and it's about, an hour away until my interview. I'm about to get dressed and get going and get there about 15 minutes early. Well, as I was getting dressed, I wanted to get, I got my pants on, I picked out my shoes, my socks, got everything ready, and I was about to put on my undershirt, my white long sleeve undershirt that goes under the blazer in order to tie my tie within that. Until I realized that all the way at home, mind you, an hour away, is where that shirt is. So I was kind of SOL. I had to improvise. I didn't know what to do. My roommates didn't have any of those shirts that I could just borrow. None of them were really my size either. So I used one of my black polos. So mind you, this was a black suit and everything with a gold tie. I got one of my black polos, That really didn't look all that great, but all what was showing was like the collar and like right here between the blazer and the tie. So I put on my polo, I tied my tie underneath the polo, put my jacket on. I'm like, I can't take my jacket off during this interview, so I hope it doesn't get too hot in there. And I went in not as confident as I hoped because I was wearing a polo as an undershirt under my nice suit with my nice gold tie. So I went and parked where I needed to park, talked to the security. They told me where to go. They gave me this badge. I went up. I sat outside the conference room as they were finishing up the other candidates' online interview, because I guess they weren't local. I was local, so I came in. They weren't local, so they did like an online interview. So as I was waiting, I was trying to scope things out, trying to see kind of like who was in the panel. And I was sitting there with my resumes in hand, because what you're supposed to do in an interview, you bring your resume so you can hand it to each person in the panel. Once they were ready, they came out, they called me in, and it was the HR lady I spoke on the phone with a phone interview with, and then two other people that I hadn't spoke with before. They were from the department at which I would be working. I sat at the head of the table. They sat kind of along the sides. And they asked me a lot of the same questions that were asked in the phone interview. So those are easy. I had already essentially rehearsed them. But they also asked me questions like, where do you think you'll be when you're 30? You know, they want to hear, I believe I would like to be working at Norfolk Southern, because they want to offer this internship to somebody as an investment. Kind of, we're going to offer you this internship, and we want you to come work for us afterwards. Like that's a basic gist of an internship, to try to get all the best talent and have them come work for you full time once they graduate their degree. However, I didn't answer it that way. I understood that's how they wanted it answered, but I didn't want to lie. So I'm like, all right, look, I know this really isn't the traditional answer. I understand what answer you're looking for, but when I'm 30, I really think that I'll be working for myself, or at least that's where I'd like to be. After that answer, you know, they're sitting there writing down on the notepads. I didn't know what they're writing. Kind of got me worried a little bit. Like, is that a good writing or bad writing? I don't know. But then another question they asked was, all right, so if I give you X task to complete by the end of the day, and she gives you Y task to complete at the end of the day, which one are you going to do first? And I kind of answered this question with a little bit of humor, like, well, you asked me first, I'm going to answer you. I'm going to finish yours first. But I knew that's not what they're looking for, so I kind of I paused for a second and I said, all right, well, really, I would try to figure out which one was a higher priority. If we couldn't figure it out, one or the other, you were both saying yours are higher priority, then I would ask all three of us to talk and figure out which one you want me to get done first, because I can't complete both of these by the end of the day. At least that was part of the criteria. Basically, you could only complete one of these by the end of the day. Which one is it? So that was my answer. I think that was a good answer. Among other questions that were asked, I think I left that interview feeling very confident, because very confident with my people skills. I was very confident with how I answered each of the questions, and all I had to do was go home and kind of wait. Well, kind of wait. And I say kind of wait because I didn't just wait for them to get back to me. I sent a follow-up email to them a few days after this interview, kind of saying, thank you for meeting and speak with me last week. It was a pleasure to meet all of y'all. Opportunities like this allow students like me to experience what it's like to work in this field and determine whether or not it's a fit, all while gaining real world experience. I also love how there's potential to grow within the company. I also said, if I were lucky enough to secure this position with Norfolk Southern, what would be the best way to prepare for the co-op? I want to be able to do the best job possible while at Norfolk Southern. So I received a response 2 days later saying, if you are chosen to be a co-op for intermodal systems, it may be helpful to research, SQL queries, advanced Excel analysis, SharePoint 2013 sub-site page editing for starters, and then we'll be in touch with you shortly to inform you of our decision. Thanks for following up. And sure enough, a few days later, I got the internship offer, and of course I accepted it. And then we went through the whole entire process of the medical. I had to get drug tested. I had to pee in the cup, and I had to get hair tested as well to make sure I'm not on any drugs or anything like that. And then kind of that whole entire process to get into a company like this. And then I started that following fall. And I also realized that following fall is that I shouldn't have taken a full semester worth of courses when I was also working 40 hours a week at this company, because those courses didn't really turn out too well, to say the least. But that's story time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That's how I got the internship at Norfolk Southern, also known as a Fortune 500 company. I hope you took away something from this, like maybe you didn't know that you are supposed to bring in, copies of your resumes to in-person interviews, or maybe that it's very helpful to show your interest in this company and in this position by sending up a follow-up email and saying, what can I do if I get this job to make sure that I'm able to do the best possible job while working at Norfolk Southern or whatever company you're applying to. So hope you took something out of this. I appreciate you sticking through it. If you did enjoy this, be sure to subscribe down there or at least like the video. I'd appreciate it. Until next time, guys, have a good one. Peace.